Hi there everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Clarissa and I put out new pick a card readings, tarot readings every week. This week we're doing a reading that's regarding shadow work. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to title the video yet, like while I'm recording it right now, so I don't have like an official title in place or anything, but essentially I want to look at different like shadow aspects of yourself that you need to come to terms with, how to help you come to terms with those things, and like what will coming to terms with this help you with. I apologize if you can hear that in the background. All of my neighbors are super obnoxious, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that. So I'm sorry if you could hear that, but I have three different piles for you to, or three different cards for you to select from, I guess, or groups for you to select from this week. So we have the vessel and we have this piece of picture jasper. Just let me make sure you can see that okay. My camera hasn't been loving focusing for me lately, so let me just make sure. Hello, there we go, that's better. Kind of for a second. Sorry guys, I don't know why it's been doing this lately. It's just been like really annoying. But this is your piece of picture jasper. Okay, and then this is the card, the vessel. And I actually kind of feel inclined to read the passage from the book for you as well for the vessel. So I think I'm going to do it for every single one. So let me pull this up, and then maybe you'll be drawn to either the imagery of the card, the crystal itself, or what's being said about the card here in the book. So let me pull it up here. I should have like bookmarked these. That would have been smart, huh? Okay. All right. So for the vessel, we have the body, the container, the cup. The vessel may be the most powerful archetypal form on earth. It is everywhere. Cups hold liquids, stove hold fire, our bodies hold organs, our homes hold families. Through the simple act of separation, the vessel protects what it contains. Nests protect the eggs, savings accounts protect our earnings. Even the planets are contained within their circular orbit. When this card appears, it is time to assess what is being held together and how. Is the vessel too tight, too loose, broken, empty, full, or perhaps there is no vessel at all and the contents spill in every direction? It is natural for structures to be formed and eventually fall apart. The vessel has a life cycle that must be honored. Is it time for you to build, break, or repair? You must find out. And then we have little things here on the side too. The mentor and the healer must pay particular attention to this archetypal form. Healing cannot be sustained without a strong container. And then we also have the physical body is the most sacred vessel of all. It is the one in which you reside from your first breath to your last. It may need your attention. So that's for pile number one. And then for pile number two, we have the kiss card here. And then this piece of goldstone, this little goldstone heart. Okay. And then this is the imagery on the card itself, the kiss. All right. And then I'm going to read you the passage from the book on that. So again, you could be drawn to either the imagery on the card, the crystal or stone itself, or the actual passage here. See, there we go. Okay, the kiss, the touch, the chemistry, the sex. Before a first kiss, the air is electrified. Each breath is alive with possibility and magic. What will their lips be like? Their tongue? Do they want me in return? The archetypal energy of the kiss is a heightened sensation of merging with other, of letting in what was moments ago separate. Two become one. It is risky but beautiful business. These moments forever change us as we move past the solitary self toward union and acceptance. This card suggests true intimacy is around the corner, which requires bravery and surrender. When the kiss takes a non-human form, it may be experienced as touching the sacred, hearing a whisper, or being graced by a divine being. You will recognize the presence of the kiss by cold chills and an awakening of the heart. We have intimacy is multi-layered and requires our reflection. Revisit what you consider to be sensual, taboo, acceptable, shameful, and then write down the story of your first kiss, what was changed in that moment. You don't actually have to do that. These are just like other little tidbits in this section or in this passage. So that's it for pile number 2. And then for pile number 3, we have the bardo, or this piece of citrine. Okay, that's better. All right. And then here's the imagery on the card for the bardo. It's like an eye with a bunch of skulls around it. There we go. Okay. So let me read you the passage on that. Sorry, I keep standing up to make sure that my camera is focusing. So if you're hearing movement, that's why. Okay, for the bardo, we have the liminal, the in-between, the transition. It is said that the bardo is a place between this life and the next, a liminal realm through which souls pass. Envisioning this inherently mysterious place creates the potential for us to rise above the concerns of the world and see our relationships through a cosmic and timeless lens. We may receive messages from those who are no longer with us or see visions of lives not yet lived. In the bardo, there is a potential to forgive the unforgivable, to say the unsaid, to see the unseen, to love the unloved, to let go of all the things that cause us pain. The bardo suspends us in its spaciousness for just long enough to open us to higher wisdom. Its energy does not belong to Earth as we know it, but rather to the cosmic network of which we are a single thread. The bardo is not to be feared. Take advantage of its energy by recognizing what needs to be resolved. Trust that there is a message for you from beyond. Who is speaking? Go ahead and listen. When the veil between this life and the next is thinned, energy is stirred. This allows for remarkable healing and vision. Okay, so those are your 3 options. If you need to, please pause the video and take a moment to select which you are the most drawn to. I don't think it would be wrong in this reading to select more than one or to listen to all 3 if you really want to, because again, this is about shadow work and we all have various shadow aspects about ourselves. So once you have decided though, whichever pile you're the most drawn to or whichever one you want to start with, go ahead and go to the description box down below and there are timestamps that will take you directly to your reading. So anyway, thank you so much you guys for joining me today. I love you and I will see you shortly in your reading. Hi there, my pile number 1s. As a reminder, if you chose the vessel and the picture jasper, again, looks like this. You're probably not able to see it the best. I am losing some daylight here, so we may be kind of recording with it being a little bit darker. If it gets really bad, I'll keep an eye on my camera. If it gets really bad, I will turn on my ring light. But I'm recording your guys's pile at the end of a day, and I'm recording the rest of them tomorrow. So anyway, that's why it's going to be getting a little dark. But as a reminder, you know, if you chose the vessel or the picture jasper, then this is your reading in regard to what shadow work you need to be doing at this time. And like I said, I don't really know for sure what I'm going to title this video yet, but essentially we're looking at 3 main questions here and then getting any additional guidance with 2 oracle decks. So we are going to be looking at what do you need to come to terms with, how can you come to terms with it, and what will coming to terms with it help you with. And again, this is in regard to shadow work. This is in regard to parts of yourself that you may deny or that you may not like to come face to face with, but these are things that are going to need to be dealt with in order for you to grow and for you to become who it is you want to be. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into your tarot cards. If you're new here, then I do things a little bit differently. Those of you that have been watching me for a while probably already know this, but anyway, I usually will go ahead and shuffle your tarot cards off screen, and then I'll go ahead and like type up a little synopsis just to help me stay on track a little bit better throughout the reading, so that I'm not jumping all over the place with my ADHD brain. But anyway, what I did is I have 3 cards regarding those 3 questions, and then I did ask Spirit for some clarifiers as well, just to give us like more information, like additional information on top of these 3. So for you guys, pile number 1, what I was feeling with your cards is that one of your shadow aspects is a need for control. You're deeply terrified of submitting, and I feel like this is pouring into every aspect of your life. I think it's interesting that you chose the Vessel card as well, because this can speak about our body, our human vessel, which houses our soul. Perhaps you have been neglecting your vessel as a means to control other aspects of your life, or you've been trying extremely hard to control your body. And as somebody that has a chronic illness, let me tell you, there's only so much control we have over our own bodies. We cannot control how our bodies store fat, how quickly our body grows hair back, or how the hair out of our head grows, etc. There are so many different things also. Those were just some examples. We cannot control how our body looks either. Even if, you lose all this weight, you may still not be happy with like the fact that you don't have a butt, or you don't have boobs, or your boobs are too big, or your butt is too big. And if you're a guy, like obviously boobs aren't the issue, but like you can't control certain aspects about your body either, and how your body stores fat versus how your body gains muscle. You may gain muscle or store fat in areas that you don't want to. Like there's just so many different things that we truly cannot control about our bodies. We can diet, and we can starve our body, and we can make modifications, like surgical modifications, but at the end of the day, if you weren't at peace with yourself, you'll never be satisfied with your vessel. And I truly believe that this need for control does stem from a place of discontent and a lack of peace, because I think it's silly to think you can control everything and every possible outcome. Sure, we can do everything in our power for a situation to turn out a certain way, but it still may not, because there's so much out of our control. And that's what makes life beautiful. Appreciating the vessel, appreciating the opportunity, and trusting that things always work out the way they are meant to. I think there's too much in this world that is unexplainable or coincidental for there not to be some divinity, some higher force or being, or whatever it is you want to believe in, working things out in our favor, even if it doesn't always feel like it, and even if we are disappointed with the outcome in the moment. That being said, you really need to come to terms with surrender. And it's interesting because initially I got the Hanged Man, and that's the first word that came to my mind was surrender, because the Hanged Man truthfully is about surrendering. It's about surrendering to where we currently are. And I've mentioned this before. I need to ultimately like tag this podcast in my description box, but if you're wanting to learn tarot, if you're interested in tarot at all, I highly, 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 highly recommend listening to Jacqueline Kitzman's Awakened Tarot podcast. I just love the way that she breaks up the cards, the way that she talks about the tarot. I love how she views things. I don't necessarily want to say differently, because it's not always. Some of the cards it's very different from like how you can be taught to view the cards, but I just love hearing her explanation of the cards. It allows me to think about the cards and view the cards in a different way than I previously had, like when I was initially learning tarot. And one of the things that she talks about with the Hanged Man is it's essentially like the caterpillar putting themselves in a cocoon to become a butterfly. It's like the caterpillar thinks that that's the end of the world, the end of their life, and yet they have this beautiful transformation to go through to become this butterfly. And let's not pretend like it's beautiful all the way through, like it's a terrible transformation where literally they're ripped up from the inside out, and, you know, they become a completely different creature. But it really is so important to learn the art of surrender and to know that, you know, sometimes we have to put ourselves in a cocoon. Sometimes we have to be in this, like, this moment of limbo, this like standstill place in order for us to ultimately like become what we want to, us to transform into what we're wanting to. And it's so interesting with the Eight of Wands and how it's depicted in this deck, because essentially to me it's like you've done all of these different things, like you've put all of this different like passion and energy into like a certain project or a certain thing that you're doing, and it's like at the end of the day though, you have no control over how these things land. Like there's a tornado behind her, and it's literally like you can, you know, put everything you have into something and it still may not turn out the way that you want it to, and that is okay. All that you can really do is put your heart into something, put your energy and your time, and like really fully do it. You know better than anybody if you're giving 100% to something or not. And if you are and it didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, how can you be upset about that? I mean, obviously, like, you can be upset. It's upsetting when things don't work out the way we had planned or hoped, but if you know that you put everything you could into something, that's all that you can do. You don't have control over how everything in your life turns out, every single outcome. It just doesn't work that way. If we did, like, what would be the purpose of us being here and living this life for as long as we do, or as long as we have the potential to, I guess? All of this, like, growth and change and transformation that we have the possibility to go through. What would be the purpose of all that if we had control over every single outcome? If we could all, you know, walk the same path in life and get the same place? Like, it's just not meant to be that way, and that is okay. Let me get a drink of water here real quick before I get on to this next section, which are these cards here, which we've got Temperance and the Knight of Swords. Which I apologize, I didn't even walk through the cards that we got for you. So you had gotten the Hanged Man, Temperance, the Tower, the Eight of Wands, the Knight of Swords, and the Nine of Cups. So for the second question here, in regard to how can you come to terms with the shadow aspect, which again, I really do feel like for you guys it has to do with control. I feel like movement is actually going to be a really huge thing for you. Grounding yourself back into the moment, back into your vessel. I get this feeling that you lean toward anxiety, and this can compound our need for control. Because if we can control the outcome of everything, we think this will help with our anxiety. I think it will be important for you on this path of learning to surrender, to meditate, do yoga, or even other forms of exercise. You don't have to enjoy meditation or yoga. You can literally kickbox or, you know, run or swim or whatever it is that allows you to feel connected to your body. One thing that's really been helpful for me lately is stretching. I also like have terrible lower back pain, and my back locked up like a couple months ago back in October, and it was probably the worst back pain I've ever had. And after that happened, that was like the second time of it happening, but it was so much worse this last time. I told myself that I was going to stretch every single day, and I've been doing that. I've, you know, missed a couple days here and there, but consistently, like, I'm stretching at least 6 to 7 days a week. And it's been very, very therapeutic and like obviously helping with the back pain, but it's just like been a very like nice way for me to connect with myself at the end of the day, to like connect with my body and feel my body again. Because, you know, sometimes we go through the motions all day and we don't feel where we need to stretch, where we have pain, where we have tension in our body. And so I think that that'll be something that's very important for you. I would highly advise stretching if you're not somebody that meditation or yoga works for you. Just stretching, starting there, and, you know, doing some like brisk walking. And maybe for you, you need to do it without like a podcast in your ear or music in your ear, and you really need to sit there and like take that time to think and connect with yourself. And Let's see what else I wrote down here. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just said like transmuting that anxious energy into something else. So when we do start to feel anxious, it can be really helpful for us to move our body and reconnect with ourselves. And again, literally taking all of that anxious energy, because I know there's a lot of energy that goes into anxiety. Like, I'm somebody that is very anxious also. And so there's a lot of energy that goes into that. And with the Knight of Swords coming up here, I really do feel like that's why this was coming up, because I feel like you're somebody where your mind is running 100 miles an hour, and it's really hard for you to wind down. It's really hard for you to take deep breaths and reconnect with yourself and regulate your nervous system when you start to like tend toward that sympathetic nervous system, which is like our fight or flight response, right? And that can happen when we get in these states of anxiety. We like really rile ourselves up. And so I think that'll be really important for you to be able to reconnect with yourself in order for you to better control those anxious thoughts and emotions that come up. So yeah, deep, even breath work will be, I feel like, really helpful for you. There's a lot of different things that you can do, but ultimately like reconnecting with your body and transmuting that anxious energy into something else instead of like this tight need for control. In regard to these next set of cards here, this was asking like how you dealing with this will help you in the long run, like what it will do for you by you coming to terms with this and working through it. In regard to dealing with, sorry, I was just repeating kind of what I said there. This is like the only downside of me typing out a synopsis is sometimes I lose my place here, especially when I'm like really getting into it still, but it has been super helpful. That's why I continue to do it. I really do see you becoming somebody that welcomes change. I love the way the Tower is depicted in this deck. It's almost like she's mischievously grinning back at the Tower like collapsing and coming to a fall. And it's like, I don't know, it's like you just have a better grasp on the fact that things change, the fact that we don't have control over every single outcome, the fact that we don't have control over the fact that sometimes a tower comes crumbling down because it wasn't built on a good foundation to begin with. We don't always have control over how things turn out, and being able to accept that and not, getting into this state of panic, not allowing ourselves to fall into this state of anxiety, depression. And I'm not saying that like those things won't happen ever again, but I mean like us having a better grasp on it and us like allowing things to just be what they are. Because again, we don't always have control over the outcome of everything. We only have control over ourselves and like the energy that we put into something. And if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out. And the thing about people that have such a tight need for control of everything, you really do struggle with change. You struggle with things changing around you, with outcomes, not coming out the way that you had wanted, but ultimately with like change in general. And so I really do feel like you're going to become somebody that welcomes change and, that isn't as scared about, not knowing every single little thing that'll happen that's accompanied with this change, if that makes sense. Because I feel like the thing that really throws people off about change and needing control is that when things change and, they fall into place a certain way, like we don't have control over that. We don't have any control over that a lot of the time. And that can be really, really hard for you if you struggle with that need for control. Change can be something that is just like terrifying for you. And I feel like you're going to be much, much, much more comfortable with that. I think that you're really going to allow yourself to submit more and surrender more and to welcome divine intervention into your life. You'll be less anxious and more able to live in the moment because you won't allow like your thoughts to take over like the moment that you're in, and like put yourself 100 light years ahead of like where you even are, if that makes sense. This doesn't mean that negative emotions won't still come up at times, but you'll be a lot more equipped to handle them. This will give you better control over your thoughts and emotions and how these two truly affect each other. You will no longer allow these anxieties to control you. So another thing that I really love about this card, and I've mentioned this before, and it's something that I see all the time now when I see the Nine of Cups, is, you know, cups talk about our emotions, obviously, but it's so interesting because to me it's like, you know, she's very peaceful, very much so living in the moment, very much so in acceptance with the way that things are and just appreciating things for what they are. And it's like this crab is just like coming up, and it's almost like to pester her, to like pinch at her, and I imagine this is like being your thoughts. So even when you're in this state of tranquility, you'll have these anxious thoughts that come up, and it's like the cat is this part of you that's, you know, putting up these boundaries even with these negative thoughts that come up for you, these anxieties that come up, and you being able to say, you know, now is not the time, or being able to deal with it much more quickly and not allowing it to fester for as long, if that makes sense. So, you know, you'll acknowledge it and you'll know that it's there, and you may even allow yourself to feel those feelings of anxiety briefly, but you're not going to let it spiral out of control and ruin your whole day or week or month or year, okay? So I think it's just gonna be very, very, very helpful for you to work on this deep need of control and this inability of yours to surrender to the flow of the universe, essentially, the flow of life. Sometimes we literally just have to float on the water and allow life to take us where it wants to. Because again, there's only so much control we have anyway. So let me go ahead. I'm going to close my laptop here with my notes, and we'll go ahead and look at your oracle cards. Let me make sure. Okay, you guys can still see. All right, good. I'm hoping that we'll be able to kind of get through this before it gets too dark, because I just have these two oracle decks. I'm not saying that and like, let me rush through this. That's not what I want to do, but I'm hoping that I can get you guys' reading in before it gets too dark. Anyway, so let's see, any other information that we have for pile number 1? Any other tips or guidance that can be given to them during this time of them trying to work on their shadow aspects of themselves? And I've used this deck a couple times before, but it's been a little while since I picked it back up. I mentioned this in my last reading. I was very much so using like the same 3 tarot decks over and over again. I mean, oracle decks. And so I'm trying to mix it up a little bit more this week with my oracle decks. I am still using the Sacred Self-Care oracle deck after this because I just love that deck. It's just been really, I've been really connected to it lately. And I think that that was something that was really important for this week's kind of reading in regard to shadow work. So we've got peace, which is so funny that that comes up. Oh my God. We'll talk about that card here in a minute. Okay. Anything else, Spirit, you want to talk with pile number 1 about? Okay. We will shuffle once more and then cut the deck for 1 more card. Food meditation. Okay, you guys, I think that this is like just such beautiful confirmation here. With the peace card coming out, I don't know about you guys, but this card to me feels a lot like body acceptance and accepting and loving ourselves for who we are, where we are in the moment, right? This feels like somebody that is at peace with themselves, the way that their vessel is, the way their body is, the way that life is unfolding around them. And I literally mentioned that, I believe, or at least I thought about it when I was like typing up the synopsis. But I think that that's it for you guys, is that in order for you to really relinquish some of this control, you do have to be at peace with yourself. You have to be at peace with where you are now, and knowing that you are where you're supposed to be. I really think that. I think that we're all where we are meant to be, and things will happen for you when they're meant to happen for you. And I know that's really, really hard to hear sometimes. I know that that's something that even I personally struggle with sometimes. So I do feel for you. And I know it's easy for somebody to sit there and say that. But I think it's what you really need to hear, because I think that you guys are so hard on yourselves. You may be hard on yourselves when it comes to your body and the way that you look, or where you are in life right now, because maybe you think you're supposed to be farther along or in a different situation than you currently are. And it's okay to be where you are right now. You're supposed to be there. And it's okay to just be at peace with how things are, and to accept yourself and your situations for what they are. That's not to say that like you can't want better or you can't want to change them, but it is so important for us to really meet ourselves where we are and love ourselves. And something that I've even been working on a lot, because I think that that's something that we all struggle with, is body image, the way that we look and the way that we want to be perceived, right? And something that I've really been having to work on is loving myself for who I am, for how I am now, for how my body is now, and loving and appreciating my body for getting me here and allowing me to be here, and working so hard for me every day just so that I can function. For instance, like yesterday I was at work and I had gotten like no sleep the night before. This reading I feel like is also for me in a way, because I have been just like very anxious lately. My mind, it's been really hard for me to shut it off. And if you relate to this, then I feel like this is why this is coming out. But anyway, yesterday I had to go to work and I got like barely any sleep the night before. I was tossing and turning a lot. I think I fell asleep by about 10:30 or 11, and I woke up at like 2 a.m. and maybe got another hour of sleep, and I was so exhausted. And unfortunately, you know, we live in a capitalistic society. I had to power through and go to work, and I did. And one thing that I'm not the best at is thanking my body on those days for getting me through and allowing me to be able to function. I did have coffee, you know, like I needed to give myself some help there, but I think that we take our bodies for granted so much. We take for granted all that our bodies do for us to get us through the day, and I think that that's something that you guys may need to work on, especially with this vessel card coming up. But just ultimately being at peace in general with yourself and where you are, and knowing that you're where you're supposed to be, and stop trying to force things to happen when they're not supposed to yet. Again, all that we can really do is know that we put in all of ourselves, all of our effort, all of our heart and soul into something. And if it doesn't work out, that's devastating and that hurts and it sucks. But it wasn't all for naught, right? There's always something that we get out of that. Even if it's just like knowing that we are capable of putting in that time and effort into something. Yeah, I just think that there's a lot that needs to be done there in regard to peace, and for you to feel this peace within yourself, for you to be able to surrender. And with food meditation coming up, it says I can on here. Again, I think that for a lot of you, this may just have to do with your body image and with you relinquishing so much control even around food. And you know, not everybody's gonna agree with me on this, and that's okay. I've been through my own issues with food, and it's still something that I work on all the time because there's a lot of trauma for me surrounding food and just like toxic behavior and mentality around food. Truthfully, we put so much morality towards food that some foods are good, some foods are bad, and truthfully, food doesn't have a morality. There is no good or bad to food. Food can all be enjoyed at whatever level we need it to be. There may be days where all you want to eat is chocolate cake, and that's okay. It's about balance. It's about us being able to give our body what it needs, what it craves, and taking care of ourselves, but like being able to listen to ourselves and listen to our body and like not overindulging in things to the point where it makes us sick, or to the point where we're overstuffed. It's eating to satiety and eating the things that we are truly craving and the things that we enjoy while listening to our body and what it needs. And so I really feel like that's why this is coming out for you guys. It's interesting because it's saying food meditation. So I really feel like what this is saying is Spirit saying when you are eating, make sure that you're showing gratitude for the food that you have, and gratitude for this ability to be able to nourish yourself. And also it can be very helpful if you're somebody that gets overstimulated easily and you have a hard time hearing hunger cues, or like recognizing them, to eat in silence and really sit there with yourself and your body and connect to yourself. Again, this is another way for you to connect to yourself and be in the moment, which we talked about. But yeah, just doing that so that you're able to better tap into like those hunger cues while you're like relearning a good relationship with food. I feel like these two cards may have been very specific for some of you. This may not be something that's applicable to the entire group in this reading, but I do think it's something that's important because I often like hear and find that people that need to control everything, this also goes back to our vessel, to our body, and to like our diet. And so I think it's just very important for you to hear that if you're one of those people that this extends to. Okay, so for our last little bit here, which we can still see okay, I think. Yeah. Okay, let me get a drink of water here real quick and then we'll shuffle these last cards. Okay. Another thing that's just coming up here when I'm looking at this peace card again is just like a love and admiration for yourself and like being more gentle with yourself. And where you are. Sorry, I didn't even shuffle there. Kind of slipped over my finger. But we did get deep breathing for you, number 19. And like you may even want to start the practice of like looking in the mirror and saying like kind things to yourself while giving yourself that eye contact. I tell you, when I do this, it makes me sob. It really does make me cry to like look at myself and say these things to myself. Another thing that's coming through too right now is, and this is something that I still want to do myself, but I had heard this on TikTok like a couple months ago of this girl, and it was actually like, I think started by Kendall Jenner. She talked about how her therapist had told her to do this, and I thought it was like a really good idea actually. And somebody else was talking about doing this, taping a picture of yourself when you were a kid to your mirror in the morning, or the mirror that you look at the most, so that then when you look at yourself and you're thinking all these mean, negative, terrible things, it's like a reminder that you're saying those things or thinking those things to that little version of yourself that needs to be protected. So it's like this reminder to be more gentle on yourself and not be so harsh on yourself about your appearance or about, you know, anything really. Just like being kinder to ourselves. Okay. one more card here. So the deep breathing card fell out. I don't think I explained that like as well. The deep breathing card fell out. The other one that had popped out, it didn't really fall out. It more so just kind of like slipped off of my finger, like my finger got in the way there. So I didn't want to take that one because I didn't know if that was what Spirit was really wanting to get across. If it comes out again, then I guess we know for sure, right? But what else can pile number one do at this time to show themselves kindness, gentleness, love while they're healing this shadow aspect, or, you know, contacting this shadow aspect? Okay. So we have build strength. Okay, I just think that it's so funny. I feel like Spirit's really reiterating what we've already talked about. Like, I literally mentioned deep breathing for you guys when it comes to like how you can come to terms with this shadow aspect, how you can come to terms with this need for control, and how deep breathing and just like reconnecting with your body will be a really big thing for you. And then with building strength, you know, this can be a form of exercise for you. And again, us reconnecting with our bodies and being able to be in that moment, transmuting that anxious energy and those thoughts that we may have into something productive, that allows us to feel connected again to the moment, to our bodies, to who we are, and like ground in the moment, as opposed to allowing our thoughts to run amok and spiral out of control and allow the anxiety to control us and take over our day-to-day, take over everything that we're doing. So yeah, I just really feel like this was a very beautiful reading, pile number one. I really enjoyed this. I hope that this resonated for you and that you got something out of this reading, some message, something that you really needed to hear, and that this gives you like a practical idea of how to start tackling this shadow aspect of yourself. One other thing that I forgot to mention, which I meant to at the beginning, but I did mention her already. This was actually inspired by one of Jacqueline Kitzman's podcast episodes. I'd been wanting to do one on shadow work. I wasn't quite sure how to tackle it, but like these questions, this like spread essentially, was given to me by her through that podcast. So this wasn't like some original idea of mine. I had been wanting to do this. I just wasn't sure how to go about it. And I really liked this easy format that she had kind of laid out. So again, if you want to learn more about tarot, if you want to listen to somebody talk about tarot, she is a wonderful resource. Again, it's called the Awakened Tarot Podcast by Jacqueline Kitzman. So anyway, I really hope this resonated for you guys. If it did, please leave me a comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up so that it can reach as many people as possible that may also need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, I do put out new pick a card readings or tarot readings once a week, so please subscribe to my channel for more content like that. I love you guys so much. I'm wishing you all the best, and I hope that you're able to start going through this journey of healing and confronting the shadow aspects. So anyway, I love you, and I hope to see you in next week's reading. Bye. Hello there, pile number two. As a reminder, if you chose the Kiss card or the Goldstone Heart, then this is your reading this week in regard to like what shadow work you need to be doing right now. So we're just gonna go ahead and get into your reading. I do have two oracle decks as well that we'll get into once we've gone over your tarot. And if you're new to my channel and this is your first time seeing any of my videos, I do things a little bit differently here, and I have for a while. So I'll usually go ahead and shuffle your tarot cards off screen, allow myself to sit with them for a while, and then type up a synopsis of like the most significant information that's coming through. This just really helps me. I feel like when I do it the other way and I like shuffle on camera, there's just so much that's coming in. It's hard for like my ADHD brain to focus, and like I feel like I miss things because of that. Like I miss telling you maybe some important information that you need to hear. So that's just the way that I do things for you guys today. For your tarot cards, we got the Knight of Wands, the Page of Swords, the Nine of Cups, Judgment, the World, and Justice. So we're going to go ahead and go over your tarot here first. So we have like 3 different sections essentially, and I did get clarifiers for each question that I had asked. Just to like get more information in regard to like what was being expressed with the initial 3 cards. So I got the Knight of Wands and Judgment when asking like what you need to come to terms with in terms of like shadow work, parts of yourself that you may try to hide or dissociate from or pretend aren't there. How can you come to terms with this? What can you do to come to terms with this? And then this last section here with the Nine of Cups and Justice, we're looking at what or how will this benefit you by coming to terms with this? How will this help you? So for this first section here with the Knight of Wands and Judgment, sorry, let me pull up my little document here. Okay. I get the feeling that one of your shadow aspects is about impulsivity. I find it interesting that you picked the Kiss card, as it does point to passion and desire, and I think you're a very passionate, fiery person, maybe to your own detriment. I get a bit of a cocky attitude and I'll show you or prove you wrong type of attitude. Perhaps this impulsivity comes from people tearing you down or not believing in you, or even saying things to you about what you're capable of as a child. And it's this need or desire to prove people wrong that causes you to be impulsive and fiery, even when the obstacle or issue at hand is a dragon breathing fire, like we're seeing in this card, and you're simply a little human on a broomstick. And it's so interesting with this card too, because you see how we have this cat here? It's like the cat is anticipating what the human's wanting to do, which is just kind of act without thinking. To like fight off this dragon that's literally raining fire over this like mountain range or hill or whatever it is. And it's like the cat is trying to reach for the wand and is like, no, like stop. And so that's why I just felt like impulsivity when I looked at this card. And let me make sure that you're able to see this, okay? So you can kind of see what I'm seeing. So yeah, we have the cat here, and it really does look like the cat's trying to reach out for the wand because it's like anticipating that the human, the witch, whatever, and the card is going to attack the dragon. But he's like, dude, do you see all this fire? Like, what are you doing? So I just think it's really interesting. One other thing that I wanted to mention is obviously like impulsivity, like impulsiveness can come about due to other like traumas and issues that you may have had in your life. And if you're having a hard time discovering what the root of this is, I would really suggest reaching out to a professional if you can afford to do so, to get the help that you need. But this is literally just like a general overall consensus of like what I was feeling with this first section of cards. Excuse me. And I just want to point out that this is not to say that you don't have the sheer force of will to tackle whatever it is you want head on and succeed, as I'm sure you've done it in the past this way. It's more so about these impulsive behaviors leading you into trouble, and, you know, becoming an issue like with gambling, addiction, physical altercations, etc. I think Spirit was wanting this to come up for you so you can better learn how to change that fire and passion and like channel it into a more productive avenue. Sorry, I didn't mean to say change there. What I had written out was I think Spirit was wanting this to come up for you so you can better learn how to channel that fire and passion into a productive avenue. So yeah, I think that you guys like have just an amazing drive. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just because the Knight of Wands came up, but I really feel like Aries energy. Aries is very like headstrong and domineering. And really has the courage to go places that other people don't all of the time. And that's not to say they're not successful and that they haven't had success doing that. It's just sometimes, you know, that's not always going to work for us. Sometimes we do have to be more strategic in like what we want to accomplish, because like I said, not always are we going to be able to just like force our way into something. or, you know, with sheer force of will, like being able to cultivate whatever it is we're wanting. So moving on to like this second section here, which is like, how can you come to terms with this, or what can you do to work on this? I feel like you're needing to channel some of that fire into a planned attack, or learning more about the situation and creating a strategy of attack, not rushing into things and being so impulsive without thinking the situation through first. So use that rational logic part of your brain, and I think you will be unstoppable once you start doing this. The world is showing up in this reading as a way to enforce this need for a balance between between you wanting, The world is wanting to show, okay, let me backtrack. I apologize. Like, this is the only down part of me writing these things out, is sometimes I'm typing so quickly that my sentences don't really make sense. So then when I'm like reading it back to you, like what I was thinking, it's just like me trying to figure out what the hell I was trying to say there. But like overall, this was just really helpful for me. So this is why I continue to do it. But what I was saying is, the world is showing up here as a way to enforce this need for a balance between you wanting to act right away on something and you needing to take the time to learn what you can and have a plan of attack in place. You don't have to dim your passions or your fire or your desire, but you do need to think things through and weigh your options more often. Take the time you need to build a skill or learn about a subject, and Saturn, who rules over the world card, will reward you with what you're wanting. So what I'm like really picking up on for you guys is that it's going to be really important for you to start like thinking before you just like immediately act, because I think that's what this is all about, right? Is with this impulsive like streak, this impulsive side of yours, you're very like apt to just act or like do something or say something without thinking it through. And this can even be like, now I'm really getting that this can even have to do with like your words. Maybe you're somebody that is very brash, very impulsive with the things that they're saying. And you don't really think about the consequences of what you have to say, and how sometimes we can't take our words back once we've put them out there, right? We can apologize for what we say, but we can't take back what's already been said. And I'm not saying that you can't be authentic and you can't, you know, tell people your opinions. I'm saying that maybe sometimes you should think about like the way you're phrasing things, the way that you're saying things, the way that you're wanting to say things, so that you can be more, I don't know exactly what word I'm looking for here, but you can be more thoughtful and more direct with your words. And again, like, it will cause people and yourself less hurt in the long run, because like I said, we can apologize for the things we've said and done, but we can't take that back. So sometimes it's better to just keep things in our brain as opposed to like saying every little thing that comes to mind without really thinking about it before saying it. Okay. So I'm really getting that may be the case with a lot of you right now. And that can like be a detriment to like your relationships with people. Again, it's like, you know, somebody spews fire at you, says something really like angry and hateful and mean, and it's like you want to fire back. There needs to be this part of you that steps back for a moment, takes a breath, thinks about like their next move, their next decision before actually going through with it. Another example that was coming to mind when I was looking at these cards was like, let's say that you're wanting to like make really big changes for yourself. And I think this is great if this is something you're wanting to do, like maybe get up earlier in the morning so you have more time for yourself in the morning. You can have like a more slow, purposeful morning. Maybe you're wanting to like get a little workout or get some movement done in the morning. You know, it's great if you're like, oh, I want to do this, and you like jump right into it. But sometimes we do need to have a plan in place to like get us there and make sure that we're successful with this. So, You may have to, like, for a couple days start going to bed earlier so that you can wake up earlier without being exhausted. Maybe you'll need to, like, actually decide what workout you're going to do in the morning so you're not putting all that mental effort into it and you don't just blow off a workout in the morning if that's something you're wanting to commit to. Maybe you need to like plan out your breakfast for the morning, like even take out your clothes for what you're gonna wear the next day, because it'll be less things for you to think about in the moment. So it's like, essentially we need to be able to set ourselves up for success. If this has to do with more so actions, like I said, I do feel like for some of you this may have to do with you being more careful with what you say to other people and being less impulsive and brash when it comes to expressing yourself and like your opinion and your thoughts about something. And like I said, with the World card here, I feel like this is Spirit really reiterating, like, you will be rewarded in some way, shape, or form for doing this. So you'll have a better chance of being successful. Like if you're wanting to create a morning routine for yourself, you'll have the opportunity to, you know, make better connections with people, deepen relationships. If you're better able to craft your words in a way that's not as harsh towards others and is more so just expressive of how you're feeling. So I see that ultimately, like, this is how you will be more successful, is literally just thinking more and really taking the time that you need to think things through or build a skill or learn something before acting on it. And that's ultimately like how I'm seeing that we'll be able to come to terms with this here, with this impulsivity, is really us thinking before we act. Let me take a drink of water here before we get to this last section. Okay. And then one other thing that I forgot I was going to mention to you guys too, I thought it was so interesting too that we got Goldstone here, and Goldstone can really be about helping to attain someone's goals and staying calm and stabilizing emotions. So I think that might be some of it too, is maybe we get very reactive with things other people say to us, or when we're put in a certain situation, we're very reactive instead of introspective and thinking things through. And we really allow like our reactive emotions to take over instead of like being a little bit more thoughtful. And like I had said, I think that with you picking the kiss, that it shows that you are very passionate, you're very fiery, you're very driven. I think that you're literally like unstoppable sometimes. And it's just learning how to hone this fiery, passionate energy and channel it into something more productive. Okay, so let's go on to this last section here with the Nine of Cups and Justice. And this, as a reminder, is like how we're dealing with this and coming to terms with this shadow aspect. How will this help me in the long run? So I think it will be a lot easier for you to accomplish your goals because you'll be utilizing both logic and passion in doing so. Again, I think you're very passionate and have a lot of energy and drive to accomplish what you want, but that's hard to do sometimes when we tackle things head first without a plan in place, and we burn ourselves out or feel like a failure when things don't play out exactly as we had wanted. It's like you're an unstoppable force wanting to plow into an immovable object. That's great and all, but if the object is immovable, you're the one that will suffer from the blow of impact. It's best to use your energy to figure out your way around this object so there's no hurdle standing in your path. Again, I feel like this balance will only serve to benefit you, and you will accomplish a lot because of this willingness to weigh the pros and cons and to have a plan of attack in place. And like even this willingness to just be more thoughtful with our words too, right? Really, like, this is almost going into a meditative state, really thinking things through, being more mindful. And Libra is ruled by justice in the tarot, and Libra ultimately likes to think things through and use the logical side of their brain before acting. That's not to say they can't be reactive too, because let's remember that their opposite sign in the zodiac is Aries. So they can be reactive as well. You can get that same kind of like anger reaction out of them, right? That 0 to 100 kind of energy. But they're more likely and more inclined in their nature to be more thoughtful in their approach to things. And I think that that's something that you're really needing, pile number 2, especially if this has to do with like your words and what you say to other people. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and shut my laptop here for this last part. So we'll go ahead and look at your oracle cards and see if we can get any like last pieces of information regarding this shadow work, like any other advice that you may need, anything else that really like Spirit wants to come through for you right now. So I've got 2 oracle decks, like I had mentioned at the beginning of your reading. We'll go through this one first, and then I have the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck that I've been using for like the past 5 readings. But I thought it would be really helpful here in particular because I figured that it'd be helpful to look at things that you can do to like help support yourself and care for yourself while you're on this journey of really delving into this shadow aspect. So let's see here. We got Intergalactic Mastery Confirmation. And then let's see if we can get another card here. I think I'm going to go ahead and pull the book on the Intergalactic Mastery card. You know, I got these cards a while ago and I was using them for a little while, but I haven't seen all of the cards in this deck. And I would really just kind of like a little bit more detail on that card. Ooh, what else did we get? We got a couple more cards that flew out there. So I'm going to go ahead and continue shuffling here because I'd ideally just want 1 or 2. It was like 5 that flew out there. Okay. One more shuffle here. And then we'll cut. Okay, and you also got Vry, Freedom. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So I'll talk about the Freedom card first. I honestly do feel like by you, and like this may be counterintuitive to some of you, but by you actually being more thoughtful and more mindful of what it is you're wanting to say or what it is you're wanting to accomplish, what it is you're wanting to tackle and do, by you being more mindful about it, I really do feel like it will give you a better sense of like freedom because again, we won't be having to backtrack on the things that we've said to people after we've done that, right? We won't be needing to worry about how, maybe let's say that you go after like a project or something. I wanted to use gambling as an example there, but I don't really know if that's the best thing to do, especially if you really do struggle with gambling. I don't want it to seem like I'm judging you. So I try to use like more like friendly examples if that makes sense. So anyway, what I was saying here is I feel like by you actually like using logic a little bit more, thinking things through more, this will actually create more freedom for you. It will create more freedom from you worrying about things not turning out the way that you want. It will create more freedom for you in terms of being like more communicative with other people and having like more stable, balanced relationships with other people. And you won't have to worry so much about if what you said was insensitive or if what you said was crossing the line or if what you did wasn't enough or if you acted too rashly. I just feel like ultimately by you thinking things through more, it will create more freedom for you in the long run because you won't have to backtrack as much. You won't have to start from scratch as much because you've burned everything to the ground by, attacking without thinking. So that's really kind of the message that I'm getting from the Freedom card there. Okay, so actually I went ahead and skimmed, because my camera had cut out, so I went ahead and skimmed the book passage for Intergalactic Mastery, and there's really not a whole lot in there other than I feel like this card has to do with this being confirmation for some of you guys if this is something you've been thinking about for a while, or you know, if somebody has said something to you even about how you are inconsiderate with the way that you say things or you do things or whatever, I feel like this reading is your confirmation that this is something that you're needing to work on for yourself, and for you to have, again, better relationships with those around you in the long run. So I feel like this is something that is very important for you right now. And I feel like in conjunction, again, with the freedom card, it's literally like saying that by you doing this, by you working on this, it will open a new level of freedom for you from the prison of like your own actions and doing things without thinking them through. But yeah, I really do feel like this is just more in regard to this being a confirmation message from you. If you've been thinking about this, if this is something you've talked with others about, if maybe other people have even given this perspective to you about yourself that you haven't considered, that maybe you are a bit brash with the things that you do and that you can be very impulsive in your nature. So yeah, I think that that's why that's coming out for us here. Now let's take a look at a couple more oracle cards here for you. And again, with these Sacred Self-Care Oracle here that I'm shuffling, I really just kind of want to know what you can do during this time to support yourself while you're doing this shadow work, because shadow work's hard work, okay? It's hard to really look at ourselves and accept all of the parts of ourselves that we may not like, or the parts of ourselves that we try to hide from the world. So, let's see. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shuffle once more, and then we will cut. Okay. All right, make a meal. And we also have sound healing here too. Okay. So with make a meal in particular, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think it's very fitting that that came out. I don't know if you're somebody that enjoys cooking or doing things for yourself, but this could very much so be like a meditative practice for you, or a time where when you're cooking, you're allowing yourself to think, to use your thought processes more, to think about maybe things that you said or done in your past that you feel like you've acted very quickly on, and there wasn't a lot of thought going behind your words or your actions. And I think that cooking can be very meditative and healing in that sense, because, you know, we're able to do it a lot of the time, especially if it's a meal that you're comfortable with, something that you've made many times. You kind of do it on autopilot and your brain is just kind of there turning in the background. So maybe that's something you can start doing to better connect and like ground yourself in the moment and think things through. And it is okay. I just want to say, like, because I feel like this might be important for some of you, it is okay to tell people, you know, I'm upset right now. I don't want to say something that I'm going to regret. I need some time alone so I can think things through. It's always perfectly acceptable to set that boundary and walk away from a situation if you know that continuing to be there is only going to spark the fire more, because you want to be reactive, but you know that that's not the best thing to do in that situation. So I think it's interesting that this came up, and making a meal ultimately does show ourselves love. It shows others that we care about, that we're making the meal love. And sometimes we need that time in order for us to reconnect with ourselves and appreciate ourselves a little bit more as well, and the things that we're able to do for ourselves. With sound healing coming up, I really just get the feeling that for you guys, it may be helpful to like walk away from a situation and listen to music, put something on that puts you in a better mood and a better mindset. And I don't know about you, when I've heard a song a million times, it's easy for me to kind of tune it out and just like, I kind of have my brain like working in the background, just like going through my day, thinking about things, thinking things over. And that may be something that's helpful for you as well. But it can also be helpful if you are in an agitated state to listen to calming music. And obviously there's like more in-depth stuff with sound healing in terms of like these sound bowls and things like that. I don't know as much about that, so I can't really give a whole lot of advice, but if you do, and this is something that is very calming for you that you already participate in, then by all means, this may be something that Spirit's saying you need to be doing more frequently, or when you do get into an altercation with people, or, you know, if you're needing some time to like if you're needing some time to plan out your next steps in terms of like what you're wanting to go after. So with that being said, you guys, I'm going to go ahead and leave your reading here. I really do hope that this resonated for you and it was helpful. If it did, please leave me a comment down below. Give this video a thumbs up so that it can reach as many other people as possible that may need to hear this message. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to my channel. I put out new pick a card readings, new tarot readings once a week. I love you guys so much. I'm hoping you all the best on this journey. And I really do get this sense also, like something I forgot to mention with the Intergalactic Mastery card here, that you're well on your way to doing this. For some of you, you may have been doing this already, like already starting to work on this. And I think this is just confirmation from Spirit as well that like you're on the right path, you're doing what you need to do, keep doing these things, keep, you know, evaluating yourself and looking at the parts of you that you do try to hide or you do try to put on the back burner, and really trying to understand and uncover why it is that we respond this way. But anyway, I love you guys so much. Hoping all the best for you, and I do hope to see you in my reading next week. Thank you. Bye. Hello there, pile number 3. As a reminder, if you chose the Bardo card or the piece of citrine here, then this is your reading this week in regard to like what shadow work, shadow aspects you need to be focusing on or working on, and like how you need to come to terms with these things about yourself. So we're going to just go ahead and get right into your reading. I do have some oracle cards that we'll get into after we go through your tarot here. So for you guys today, we have the 2 of Wands, Justice, the 5 of Wands, the 7 of Pentacles, the Queen of Swords, and the Knight of Pentacles. So if you're new here, then you may not know I do things a little bit differently on my channel. So I usually go ahead and shuffle out your tarot cards off screen. I then lay them out, allow myself the time that I need to sit with them, and then I type up like a synopsis of the information that's kind of coming through with the cards, so that I can better provide you with the information. Otherwise, if I like do it all on camera, it's like so much information that I feel like I miss things and I don't always like get everything out that needs to be said. So this just helps me be more concise. So we'll go ahead and take a look here at these cards, and I do have them kind of divvied up into different sections as well. What I mean by that is each set of 2 here, like top and bottom, are a part of a question that was asked. So the first question is like, what do you need to confront? What do you need to come to terms with? How can you confront this shadow aspect? How can you come to terms with it? And then the last section here, like this last question, is in regard to like how will confronting this, coming to terms with this issue, not even issue, I shouldn't say, but this shadow aspect of yourself, how will this help you? So I did get clarifiers for each of the initial cards that came out just to get like additional information from spirit about like what needs to be worked on, like what needs to be confronted and like how this will exactly help you. So looking at this first part here in regard to what you need to come to terms with, I think it's your inability to listen to your intuition and trust yourself when it comes to making decisions. I feel like you weigh your options to death. I don't know, like I just really get strong Libra energy here, especially with the Two of Wands right next to Justice, as we're seeing here. I'm sorry, by the way, if you hear that noise in the background. My neighbors are rude. I've talked about this like a million times, and my neighbors are constantly making noise, so I apologize if you hear anything in the background. But anyway, don't get me wrong, I think that it's important to weigh our options, but for you, it's like beating a dead horse, and it causes you a lot of anxiety to think about all the possibilities of your options. The thing is, I get the sense that you know what decision you want to make right off top. That's why I think it's interesting that you guys chose the Bardo card. Because it's like the acknowledgement to your intuition that sometimes you just know what you want or what you're going to do, but due to your lack of self-confidence, you don't always actually let yourself do it. You just doubt yourself and what you're capable of. I also feel like there may be a bit of impatience toward yourself in the time you would realistically give yourself to accomplish your dreams or goals. Good things take time. I think that's really important for us to remember. And it's okay if it's going to take you 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, or even the rest of your life to accomplish what you have set after. Give the seeds that you plant the time they need to bloom, and you know what helps them bloom when you were, I'm reading without like any emphasis in my voice. I'm just like reading my synopsis that I typed up here, but you know what helps them bloom, like your seeds that you plant. It's when you're actually passionate about what you're doing and you're putting like everything into what you're doing, what you're trying to go after. So essentially, like what I'm feeling here is that, like I said, it's about your inability to kind of trust your intuition, trust that fire, that spark that you feel. And maybe you do doubt yourself, or maybe you sit there and think, well, this isn't like the most rational option. This isn't the most logical option. It doesn't always have to be. Sometimes we just get these intuitive like instincts about things that defy logic, right? I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again here just as an example, but like there is a book called The Gift of Fear, and it really talks about how we as human beings still have this ability to pick up on like nonverbal cues, like little subtle changes in energy and environment. And this is how some people like literally escape being murdered or escape like situations where they could be like sexually assaulted or, whatever it may be. But it's like because they just have this instinctual reaction, this instinctual feeling that something is not right. And that is our intuition. That's what we still have left. It's a piece of that. And so I think that you guys know what you want a lot of the time. And that's the thing is like I said, I get really strong Libra vibes. So you don't have to have Libra in your chart. Like in any planets, I would advise you to look at your birth chart. And see where Libra falls in your chart, like what house it rules over. Just because I really do feel a lot of like strong Libra energy here in terms of this stereotype of them not being able to make decisions, and that's just not true. Libra usually does know the decision they want to make, but they are prone to weighing the options to death, to where it causes them anxiety, to where they're not listening to themselves and what they really want, and sometimes they'll make a decision just based off of practicality and it being the most logical option versus it being the option that actually excites them, the one that they actually want to go after. Okay. And then in regard to the second section here, and like, sorry, I didn't really touch on this either. Let me backtrack a second with what I was saying here too, with like, it's okay if things aren't going to like play out for you right away. Good things really do take time. And I feel like with the kind of society that we live in where everything is like instant gratification, we really lose, value in that. We've lost the value in the fact that sometimes things take hard work, they take time, they take effort, and it's okay for those things to be true. And it's also okay to like allow the seeds that you plant the time that they need to bloom, right? It's best to pick fruit when they're the most ripe, when they're the most in season, instead of picking things like we do here in the US, like before they're even ready to be picked. We don't give them the time that they need to really like be picked at the peak of perfection. And a lot of that has to do with other reasons that I won't get into here, but you know, it's okay to give the things that you plant, the things that you're like going after, the time they need to actually bloom. And like I said, we're gonna see the best results anyway when what we're doing is something we actually enjoy, we're actually like loving doing, putting our all into something, because it's hard to put your all into something that you're not passionate about and that you don't care about. In regard to how you can come to terms with this shadow aspect or what you can do to work through this, I feel like you need to be willing to stand up for yourself. I feel like some of the reasoning as to why you struggle with confidence to go after what you want is because you let others, maybe even yourself in some situations, speak down on you and your goals and aspirations. If you want to become a great baker and someone is constantly telling you that you aren't creative enough or talented enough or whatever, it's about having the courage to speak up and tell that person exactly where they can go. And remember to use your voice even if it shakes. That's the big thing here with the Queen of Swords coming up, that I feel is that energy of being able to stick up for yourself. Even if you get upset, even if you become emotional while doing it, the point is you stood up for yourself, and that's something that you need to do to get people to stop talking down about you, but also to stop talking down about yourself. Let's see here. Where did I leave off? Even if you get upset and emotional, like I said, at the end of the day, it's important for your self-confidence for you to stand up for yourself. If you let people constantly berate you and tear you down, you're more likely to do the same to yourself. Also, with justice coming up here, I feel like you're needing to trust more that things will work out for you. The scales will balance out. That doesn't mean the journey won't be full of challenges, as everything in life has its light and dark, its ebb and its flow. But are you going to give up when it gets tough? Are you going to let failure and mishaps and others' judgments get in your way? If you keep going, things will get better. It's the law of nature. So what I mean by that is, you know, things will not be easy. They will not be perfect. They'll not be, you know, butterflies and rainbows and sunshine all of the time. Things can be difficult, especially things that we really want, the things we really want to accomplish. You know, things don't happen overnight. Usually they happen, sometimes it seems like they happen overnight because we've been working on something for so long, and then finally it's like we get a little bit of a break, right? That doesn't mean that just because you get that like little bit of a break that things aren't ever going to be a struggle again with what you're doing. And that doesn't mean you're a failure either if, you know, things are going beautifully, fantastic, wonderful, and then all of a sudden you're having like the worst couple days ever with this thing you're trying to do or accomplish or create. It's okay. It happens. It's a way of life. It's the way that things are. Again, the scales always have to balance out. There will always be this light and this dark that have to balance each other out. It's just like, are you going to have the confidence to see things through? Are you going to believe in yourself that these things will work out for you the way that they're meant to? And I think that by you doing that and giving up a little bit of that control of how things need to play out for you, as well as like having the courage and the confidence to stand up for yourself, not allowing other people to berate you and your ideas and what you're wanting, because good things take time. I mean, that's literally what I said earlier. And like with this example I was using of, let's say you want to become a baker. Well, people aren't just like fantastic bakers overnight, right? They literally put in a lot of time and effort and learning and like, you know, honing skills. You don't just become this fabulous baker overnight. That's not what happens. It's this enjoyment for baking and learning about baking and then, you know, honing those skills and then putting them to use. that gets you to be this world-class baker, right? So I think that's something that needs to be kept in mind, as well as like you being more patient with yourself and allowing yourself to be a beginner at things and not thinking you have to be perfect at things when you first start doing them, because nobody is. It takes time. Okay, now that I've done that little rant, let's see here. So for this last section here with how will coming to terms with this help you overall, I think that you'll become more self-reliant. You won't be looking at others all the time regarding their thoughts and opinions on what you're wanting to do. You'll have the confidence to just go after it and do it. Even if you have to take small steps, even if you go after it timidly, you will go after it with determination. And I'm really seeing that here with the Knight of Pentacles. I want to point out the thing about the Knight of Pentacles is he moves the slowest of all of the knights because he is an earth-based knight, right? And because Pentacles talk about earth, and earth is very slow moving. And there's nothing wrong with moving slow, taking things slow, doing things at your own pace. But look at how determined he is. It's like he's moving super slow, but he is so determined that he's going to get where he wants to go. And with him holding the pentacle out in his face, it's almost like a reminder in my eyes of, this is our goal, this is what we want to go after, and we're going to take small steps to get there. We may not take like huge leaps and bounds, and that is okay. You don't have to. It's about taking the small steps, making the effort, kind of getting into that rhythm and that discipline of doing these things. And continuing to do them even when it gets hard, even on days when maybe we don't want to, or we don't have like the inspiration all of the time. It's about the discipline of, still going after it because we know deep down that's what we want. And it's something that we do feel inspired about. It's something that we do love and that we do enjoy, even if we don't feel inspired every second of every moment of every day. Okay. Let me read the rest of what I had written here. Remember, like, the story of the tortoise and the hare, where slow and steady does win the race. It's okay if you need some positive things to happen to keep going and get re-inspired, to put your energy into the project or goal, but you also have to give yourself that confirmation and excited energy toward the project or goal yourself, because we can't always rely on external circumstances or forces to continue to inspire us. Sometimes we need the inspiration, confidence, and consistency within ourselves. And I think that's what you'll be getting. I also think you'll believe in yourself more and have the determination to succeed, even if the voices in your head want to tell you how illogical, irrational, or impossible something is. Overall, this will allow you to trust yourself and trust your intuition. And it's very, very, very important, I feel like, for you guys to be able to find that reassurance and that love and patience and confidence within yourself, and stop looking to external sources for that, because everybody's always going to have their own thought and their own opinion on like what you should be doing with your life, or what you should be trying to accomplish, or how you should be trying to do something. But ultimately, it's your life, it's your decision, it's your goal or aspiration that you're going after. And it's important that you believe in yourself more than anything else, that you believe in yourself and that you trust your intuition. You trust that there was a reason why you wanted to go after this. There's a reason why you feel inspired by it. And you just keep going, even when it's difficult, because it will be there. It's not going to be rainbows and butterflies and sunshine all the time, okay? There will be points where it gets difficult, and that's all right. Again, this is about, do you have the determination, the self-reliance, and the self-confidence to see it through, okay? So that's what I'm seeing for you guys. Pile number 3. Let me go ahead. I'm going to shut my laptop here with my synopsis notes, and then I'm going to take a drink of water and we'll get into your oracle cards here. All right. So we'll take a look at our first deck here. And really, just wanting any additional information, confirmation, any other additional messages that Spirit wants to get across to you right now in regard to doing this shadow work, because shadow work is not the easiest thing to do. Sorry, that was like a whole chunk of cards that just slipped out of my hand. Okay. We'll do like one more shuffle here. And I'm just going to go ahead and cut the deck. Okay. Bliss, trust, hello. Creation, solo. Solo magic. Okay. Yeah. I think that this is really confirmation for you guys more than anything. Again, trust in yourself, trust in the universe, trust that you have these intuitive hits and feelings and passions and desires for a reason, because you do. And I do feel like, again, with the Bardo coming up here, this is confirmation, if you're needing it, that you are an intuitive person and you do have like these hits or feelings that maybe other people don't always get, or like other people don't necessarily aren't as tapped in as you are to their intuition, to like spirit and like, you know, messages coming through, and seeing those more as like, you know, synchronicities in terms of coincidences. Not everybody's as tapped in as that, and that is okay. You don't have to be. I'm just saying, like, I feel like you guys are, and you need to trust those things more. And it is okay also if like you're trying to get confirmation from spirit and you ask for like some sort of sign or synchronicity and it happens, and you ask for it again. Like, spirit doesn't get annoyed with you when you ask those things of them. Just know though that at some point you're gonna have to believe that like it's actually real, it is like a real message for you, and you're gonna have to trust that and move forward with whatever it is you're wanting to do or ask, whatever you've asked about. Okay, but yes, trust is a big thing for you. Trust in yourself, trust in spirit, trust in the universe, trust that things are going to balance out and work out for you the way that they're supposed to. Okay, with solo magic here, solo creation, a lot of different things about this card, but for you guys in particular, I feel like, again, this has to do with you relying on yourself and relying on your own opinions and like what you want, as opposed to letting everybody else's thoughts and opinions about you and your life and your decisions cloud your judgment and make you not listen to your intuition and not listen to yourself. Okay, so I think that that's why this is coming out, is just as a reminder that it's okay to be more self-reliant and to go after things because you want them, and not, you know, weighing the options to death and weighing them to death to the point where you ask other people their opinions and they give you all of this criticism, like I had mentioned with that example of like you wanting to become a baker or whatever. So yeah, I think that that is really important, and I think there's a lot of beauty and magic that can happen when we do take things into our own hands and we're willing to be the ones to like take the steps in creating the life that we want, or, you know, creating the outcome of like these goals that we're wanting or that we've set forth. So yeah, I think that these are really confirmations for you more than anything. And like, again, Spirit saying to you, you have to trust yourself, and you have to trust that you have the ability to create something beautiful, create something magical. We don't always have to rely on other people's opinions of us or what we're doing to be successful. All right, it's important that we learn to rely on ourselves more. Okay, especially too when it comes to like creating what we want out of life, because we're the ones that are ultimately responsible for our lives and what we create, what we do, what we don't do. No one's gonna come in with like a cape or you know, being this knight in shining armor to save us. We have to save ourselves sometimes. Okay, all right, and then this is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck, and I'm really just, excuse me, hiccup there, I'm really just wanting to get any like last information from Spirit about things you can do during this time period to really help you work through this shadow aspect, better understand it, better know how to come to terms with it. So we'll do one more shuffle here, and then I will cut the deck for us. Okay. All right, massage. Love that for you. And then journal. Okay. Very important, I think. I love that journal came out for you, actually. I'm going to touch on that one first. Because, again, I think that you're somebody that loves to weigh pros and cons. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it becomes an issue when we do it to the point of exhaustion and we create more anxiety for ourselves than like solutions to our issues, right? And so it may be very helpful for you to be able to get your thoughts out on paper, and like create like an actual pros and cons list, or really like sit there and think about the thing that you're really wanting to do, that you're the most drawn to, that really excites you, and maybe even listing out like why you're so afraid to go after this. And sometimes, for me anyway, when I do that, it allows me to see kind of how I'm stopping myself from going after something because I'm afraid of like these little tiny things that may happen. But ultimately, I just want to say to you guys here too that we only have so much control over what happens when we try to go after things, right? We only have so much control, and when you learn to let go of that and you just allow things to be what they are, you allow justice to, even out the scales for you, you allow that ebb and flow, that light and dark, and you just kind of plan for, okay, well, if this happens, this is what I'll do. And if this happens, this is what I'll do. And there will be things that you don't even plan for that will happen, and then you'll have to figure out as you go along. But if that helps you to sit there and be like, all right, if this, like the worst case scenario happens for me, this is what I'll do in this case. So for example, let's say, you're wanting to be a baker and you want to go back to school and you want to learn how to properly bake and cook and whatever. And let's say that you're like, well, okay, let's say that I fail out of cooking school. What will I do next? Well, maybe you can get an apprenticeship somewhere and start off there. And then kind of like learn the ropes that way. Maybe there are like other options for you then where you could start maybe taking like community classes with cooking and baking. If you're afraid of failing out of baking school or whatever it is, that's just an example. But maybe for you, getting these thoughts down and actually writing them out will be very, very helpful along this journey as well, while you're coming to terms with this aspect of yourself. And also, like, what I wanted to mention as well is, when you're coming to terms with this darker, the shadow aspect of yourself, journaling can kind of help us uncover, why is it that we feel this way? Like, why is it that I feel like I can't accomplish X, Y, and Z? Why is it that I don't believe in myself? Why is it that I don't want to listen to my intuition? Really diving into that. I feel like you may really need to do that. And if you're having difficulty doing that with yourself and uncovering that, please seek professional help to do that as well. Seek the help of a psychologist, a therapist, somebody that can help you kind of delve into the recesses of the mind more. And then with massage coming up here, I really feel like you may hold a lot of the tension of this thought in certain areas of your body. That's kind of what I'm hearing. So it may be helpful for you to, have a partner massage you, for you to spend time massaging you, even booking a massage if you're able to do that. I personally booked like a massage for my 28th birthday, and that was like the best gift that I gave to myself. To just be able to like be there, be present with your body, relax, have like calming music playing, someone else tending to your body, and kind of like understanding pressure points and like what, needs to be done for you, and you just kind of getting to relax, allow your body to be manipulated in ways that are clearly comfortable, like they're professionals, and allowing yourself to kind of be present in that moment and connect with your body, and really feel like where your body is the most tense, where you hold a lot of that anxiousness or tension in your body, and just like being able to be present there in your mind, because it allowed me to kind of think about things, work through some things that I had been thinking about during that time. It was like an hour-long massage. It was really nice. And the nice thing is too, is if you're somebody like that isn't comfortable with like being naked during a massage, you don't have to The place that I went to also had like buttons on the bed where I was able to reach and that I was told about before the session in case like I ever felt uncomfortable. So I really liked that too. It helps you feel like more safe and it allows you to relax more. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and leave your guys' reading here, pile number 3. I really enjoyed this and I hope that it resonated for you as well. Please leave me a comment down below letting me know that it did resonate for you, if it did, and give this video a thumbs up so that this message can reach as many other people as possible that may need to hear it. If you're not already, please do subscribe to my channel. I put out new pick a card readings, new tarot readings every week. I love you guys so much. I'm hoping all the best for you during this journey of self-discovery, and I hope to see you in next week's reading. Bye.